Hello, everyone.
Good morning.
Hi. So I just wanted to check if the sound is okay. So maybe just a thumbs up or a quick yes from somebody. Good.
Yes,
Okay.
it's all good.
Awesome. All right. So welcome, and I'm so pleased that you guys could make it for today's session, the first of hopefully a few. So I did post some things in the chat, just reminders to keep the mics on mute if it's not already. You're welcome to keep your cameras on or off, depending on the quality of your network. And also just about questions and comments, please just put them in the chat. I will go through all of those at the end of the session. We don't have a lot of time for questions in it, but I'll go through all of them and get back to you. Also welcome to email me. I've put my email in the chat as well. So I'm Michael, and I'm Zooming from Cape Town for those that are all over the place. It's a nice sunny day, a little bit windy, but it is nice. So I'll give you a little bit more about my background and my story in a moment. But I thought that we could start the session off with just a little bit of centering. It is a mindfulness session. Don't worry if you haven't done any mindfulness practices before. This is just going to be a simple few breaths and just bringing ourselves to stillness. So if you're sitting in the chair, just take your back a little bit away from the backrest and try and lengthen your spine. Make sure that both feet are on the ground and equally weighted. Take your hands to your knees or your lap, and then just close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And with our eyes closed, start to just notice how the body's feeling in this moment. Do we feel tired? Are there aches and pains? How does the shoulders and neck feel? Maybe just loosening them up a bit as you sit there. And when you do notice any sensations in the body, we always notice with acceptance. We try to avoid wishing it to be any different than it is right now. Begin just to bring your attention to your breath now. And initially, all we want to do is hear the sound of our own breath. We breathe through the nostrils, and we breathe gently and with ease. And we try and listen out for the sound of the breath. So easy, slow breathing. And because we're trying to draw attention to the sound of our breath, we should notice very gently how our attention is focused and not distracted by all our thoughts and other sounds, perhaps. And now start to take a few deeper breaths. And when you do, take the inhale into the belly rather than the chest. You're welcome to even put your hands on your belly and feel the expansion of the belly on the inhale. So pushing the belly out on the inhale. And then on the exhale, just gently drawing the navel towards the spine. So some deep breaths now into the belly. When we breathe into the belly, we activate the parasympathetic nervous system, which brings us to calmness. It takes us away from the fight or flight response, which often happens if we breathe shallow into the chest. Let's take 3 more deep breaths together. And when you're ready, you can gently flicker your eyes open. Good. I hope that made you feel a little bit more relaxed and centered. I want to spend just a few minutes talking about my journey, how it started, how I came across mindfulness. So for those that know me and know the story, apologies for having to hear it again, but I'll try and keep it brief. So I was in corporate for many years, nearly 30 years. And during that time, I held some quite senior positions. I was chief information officer for a big company, also managed large programs, business change programs, lots of pressure, lots of stress. But for the last, call it 10 years of those 30 years, I started to feel like I had some other purpose, some other role that I needed to play, something more that I had to offer the world. And I also started to feel like I was in a rut, like I was doing the same things every day, every weekend. And that led me to start looking deeply within to try and find what this feeling was that I had something else to offer. So I actually took time to take myself away from my social environment and almost cut myself off a little bit, but the purpose was just so that I could go within and find this calling that I felt was gnawing away at me, and I started to observe my response to the world, how I was behaving, what my thoughts were, what my emotions were, what was triggering me, how did I behave in certain environments, and why was it different in others. And this deep self-awareness journey was actually about 2 years of really intense focus. And in the beginning, I struggled with it. I struggled to keep that focus. I struggled when I hit that initial resistance of, well, I'm feeling a bit of discomfort about what I'm observing. And lucky enough for me, I came across yoga, and purely by chance, I was going down to the gym as I did every day to swim. And as I arrived at the gym, 2 people ran past me and said, "Oh, we're late for yoga." And I just followed them. I don't know why. I never thought about it before. And that was now about 9 years ago. And I just, from then on, have never stopped with yoga. And that practice of yoga and then meditation helped me. It was the vehicle I needed in order to take this self-awareness journey deeper and with not so much discomfort. So I learned how to, in those practices, to be with myself, with my thoughts, and not shy away every time there was some level of resistance. But as it progressed, even after those 2 years, I still didn't know, so what is this purpose? What am I supposed to be offering the world? What am I supposed to be doing rather than be in corporate? At this time, I was still working in the corporate world, but had no alternatives just yet. It was at that time that I realized that it wasn't important for me to know the answer. And I kept reminding myself of that. Don't worry about what that end picture looks like. Don't worry about what the title is. Don't worry about your role. Just know that you're taking the right steps. And so that's what kept me going. And for years and years and years, I did not know what the role was. I had a sense that because my journey felt like I was healing myself from within, I had a sense that it had something to do with healing. Maybe I was intended to help others through a similar journey. So that's the only word I latched onto, some form of healing. And then in order to try and build skill sets in that area, I went and signed up for a 1-year full-time counseling and communication course with SACAB. And I see Leon's here from SACAB. Welcome, Leon. So I went and signed up for that because I thought, well, if I'm going to be in the space of healing, helping people with their journeys, their life purpose, I need to have a certain skill set. And I love the environment so much. Everybody in one space, all with an intention of wanting to help other people, lots of empathy, compassion in one small space. It was so remarkably beautiful, and the experience was just what I needed. Thereafter, I signed up for a bachelor's degree, applied bachelor's degree, majoring in psychology and counseling, which took me 5 years to do part-time while I was working. But I knew it was the right step. Again, I wasn't saying, well, I need to be a psychologist. I was just saying these are the right steps for me. And then in the interim, my yoga practice became stronger and stronger. So I decided to go and become a yoga teacher. So I did the teacher training and qualified as a yoga instructor in 2018. And this is when the picture started to become clearer to me. The overlap between my counseling training, my mindfulness training, my yoga teaching, all started to form this offering that I knew I could take to people and help people with. So I now love teaching yoga, but I also work individually with people and with corporates around integrating the counseling, the mindfulness, the breath work, and the movement that all helps to contribute to well-being and to healing the body and the mind and the spirit. So that's where I am now, and I feel like I've sort of got to that place where I have a sense of purpose, but still I'm not too concerned about what that title is and what it looks like, and it may evolve and change in time, and that I'm totally comfortable with. So that's sort of my journey, and I'll talk a little bit about at the end in terms of what specific work I do and what I offer. But I thought that I would bring you that story just to offer a lived experience in terms of mindfulness. Okay, so that's where we're at. I would like to just share with you a single slide at this moment that depicts that journey. So you'll see that in 2009, my lifestyle was, I used to work hard, 2 in the morning, I used to play hard, but this is the point where I was like saying, you know, is this really all it is? And I knew I wasn't taking care of myself, and I knew also that I wasn't taking care of those around me. In 2012, I was sort of a year into this process, and at that stage I was really struggling with the pain and guilt and shame of what I was observing, and I knew I had a long way to go. But I persevered thanks to the practices that I came across. In 2020, I was about 10 years into my journey last year, and this the joy that you see on my face there is, obviously, whenever I'm on the beach, I experience instant joy, but the joy that you're seeing there is not only from the significant physical wellness where I was at compared to back in 2009, but it was the inner joy that was giving me that smile on my face. Okay, I thought we could do a quick breath exercise. Now, when I put together this session, these monthly mindfulness sessions, when I looked at the acronym and it was 4 M's, immediately I started to go in my mind, like because, well, it's a bit of a mouthful, but then also as in the M's together making almost like a humming sound. So what I'd like us to do is to do what we call in yoga a bumblebee or bee breath. It's called that. And simply what we do is we create a humming sound on the exhale. So we breathe in through the nose, and when we exhale, we keep the mouth closed and it creates a humming sound. In order to exaggerate the sensation of it, what we do is we take our fingers and just gently block our ears. So if we can do that together, but for now, let's just take a normal inhale and exhale to prepare, and then we'll take our fingers gently blocking our ears, and then you take a nice deep breath and you try and exhale for as long as you can, making a humming sound. So we'll do that together now. Normal inhale and exhale. Now take your fingers to your ears, block your ears, nice deep, long inhale. And then hum it with your mouth closed out. Keep your eyes closed. Take your hands just back to your knees. Just notice the sensation. The vibration reaches all corners of the body and almost does an internal massage. And it's very soothing. It's very good for kids if they're feeling anxious. It's also a wonderful breath exercise to do when you know you're going to need your voice, perhaps before a meeting or a presentation. Okay. Gently opening the eyes again. Okay, I want to move on to today's purpose, and that is about myth busting some of the mindfulness myths. So when we consider mindfulness, there's a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings around mindfulness, and we want to make mindfulness more accessible to everybody. So and the myths sometimes get in the way of that. So we're probably not going to get through all of these, but I'll start with the first one. And a lot of people, when they hear mindfulness, they think meditation. It's all about meditation. And that is actually not correct. Meditation is one aspect of mindfulness, and it's actually really the practice that we do in order for us to be able to live more mindfully. Like if your goal was to be physically healthy, that is the lifestyle. The going to gym is just a part of it. There's also eating healthily, there's resting, there's many parts to it. So mindfulness is not about meditation alone. So what is it then? How can we describe mindfulness? So mindfulness is actually a lifestyle rather than an event or an activity. And this lifestyle is about purposeful awareness of ourselves, of others, and everything that we interact with. And when we start to deepen this awareness, we move from living on autopilot to living more consciously. Again, that's also somewhat of a buzzword, living more consciously. So what does that mean? So if you consider some practical examples, if you're having an engagement with somebody, having a discussion or a meeting, when we end that engagement, when we part ways, when we say goodbye, when we say thank you and part, at that very moment when you offer that gesture of this is now complete, if you're able to pause and observe how you're feeling in that moment. Do you feel intact? Do you feel like that engagement was meaningful? Do you feel heard? Do you feel held in terms of the person that was speaking to you cared for you in that moment? And also, how do you feel the other person felt in that moment when we parted? Did they feel, well, that was a meaningful conversation. I felt heard. I felt cared for. Another example is when we choose to get out of the house and take a walk or experience nature. We can choose to do that with our head still full of all the stuff that we've got to do and what we didn't do and worrying about tomorrow and regretting yesterday. Or we can choose to set an intention to walk out the door and pay attention to everything that we see. Observe the sounds, the wind in the trees. Observe what we see, even if it's just cracks in the sidewalk. So when you do that, you are bringing relief to your body because you're not following all this mind chatter, but you're rather observing what you see along the walk. And magically, what usually happens is you experience joy. So not only just relief, so you are giving the body a break, but you're experiencing joy. So different hormones, the stress hormones were on pause. Now we're getting different hormones which are healthy for the body. And when you start to experience how being present in each moment can bring joy, you start to seek it. You start to look out for people's smiles, and you also start to listen out for sounds of joy, laughter. There's nothing more heartwarming than hearing a child laughter. But if you purposely listen out for sounds of joy, you start to experience joy on a daily basis. When we start to do these observations, like with my journey, it doesn't mean it's always going to be about joy. When we look at how we respond in everyday life, we might notice many aspects of ourselves that we're not comfortable with. And therefore, it's very important to set an intention of no judgment, set an intention of self-compassion. It doesn't mean you're going to get it right, because most of us will still judge. But if you set an intention and you keep setting the intention, every time you observe, you say, okay, I'm not going to judge it, I'm just observing it. Slowly over time, that non-judgment intention will start to intercept the judgment, and you'll start to judge less. That spills over when you start to feel that self-compassion and lack and non-judgment for yourself. It starts to spill over in terms of how you interact with others, so that you will find yourself being less judgmental of others. And as you can see, that slowly over time can only do good for the world as a whole. So ultimately, with that lifestyle, and then if you introduce practices of yoga and meditation and other mindfulness activities like creative arts and singing and other activities, physical activities that take your mind to the present moment, if you introduce those and start to your journey of mindfulness, you bring about huge relief to our bodies. We take ourselves out of that fight and flight mode. And that on its own is helping us prevent disease and illness that comes with all those stress hormones. Further along the journey, we also start to learn about the contrasts, that having darkness and light in your life are equally as important. We don't know how to experience light if we don't know what darkness feels like. In order to experience joyfully, we also need to know what suffering feels like. It comes a time when you experience these both with relative ease and understand the interplay between them. And when you get to that point, it's when your mindfulness practice is at the level where you're able to start intercepting those thoughts that were limiting, intercepting that emotion that resulted in behavior that was unwanted. And then ultimately, with care and with self-compassion, we can gently start to make adjustments and let go of those traits and patterns that don't serve us, or that perhaps even harm others. So that for me is a description of what mindfulness is, rather than just meditation. I'm going to move just to the last one there, and we'll cover some of those other myths in future sessions. But the last one, mindfulness is a private matter and not a work one. Well, it's not, because actually what is work? Work is just all of us individuals organized in some way to work at a common goal, the organization's goal. So we just all those same individuals going through that same process of trying to understand ourselves, trying to find some level of ease and joy, and trying to let go of the pain and shame that perhaps is holding us back. So work is no different. And if we are able to cultivate mindfulness culture and values in the workplace, and where we're having those interactions where we feel self-compassion and we practice non-judgment for ourselves, that starts to spill over into all the relationships. And within a very short space of time, the effectiveness of team dynamics and ability for leadership to get a sense of people belonging and are acting as one becomes a lot easier when mindfulness is entrenched in as a value system within the organization. So I wanted to just cover those two, and you can see the others on there, and you're quite welcome to ask me specific questions about those in your chats and in your emails, and I will definitely get back to you with them. Okay, so I want to quickly talk about before we do that, I wanted to do a quick bit of stretching. So if we can, again, sit comfortably. If you're on a chair, sitting forward again. And if you are sitting on a mat like I am, sitting cross-legged or your legs is in front of you, is okay, whatever's comfortable. And we're going to do some breathing exercises, but we're also going to stretch and open up our chest and shoulders a bit. So how it works is we take an inhale when the arms open up, and almost picture that your shoulder blades behind you are trying to touch. So we're going to take an inhale, the arms will open, the chest is open, the heart is leading forward. So you take a nice deep inhale, the chin can lift slightly. On the exhale, we're rounding the back when you're reaching forward, almost like we're holding a beach ball in front of us, and the back is nicely rounded. And this time you can tuck the chin into the chest. So we'll be doing those, and we're going to do 10 of those. It awakens the spine. Basically what it does is also releases trapped energy in the nervous system. Along the spine, we hold a lot of energy, and we're trying to release that trapped energy, release the toxins, open up the shoulders. It's good for the neck, good for the shoulders, and we just feel like we are alive and awake after doing this sequence. Okay, so let's take a normal inhale and exhale to prepare. So nice deep breath in and an exhale. Next inhale, open the arms up, and exhale, round the back and reach forward. That's one. Inhale, open up. Exhale, rounding, reaching forward, tucking the chin. Inhale, open up. And exhale, rounding. Inhale, open up. With each one, maybe you get a little bit more spaciousness, rounding as you tuck the chin. Inhale, reach open. And exhale, rounding. Inhale, open up. Exhale, rounding. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, nice, big breath. And exhale, rounding. Last one, inhale. And exhale, rounding forward. Hold it there for a second. And then take your hands to your knees and straighten up your back. Sit there for a moment. Just notice the sensations in the body. Notice what that feels like. Feel what it feels like in the neck and shoulders. Maybe just loosen up the shoulders a little bit. And then just pause. Perhaps keep the eyes closed just so that you can fully experience what the body is telling you. Slow down the breathing a bit. And then we can gently flicker the eyes open. Good. Okay. What I wanted to share with you was the work that I do. So I want to talk about the future topics first. So in terms of the future topics for next month, so every month, first Monday of the month, we'll have another one of these. And if you want to be on the email list so that you don't have to look out for the LinkedIn event, you can just pop your email, your name and your email into the chat, or send me an email afterwards and say, I'd like to be on the email list for the next sessions. So these are the possible topics for next month's discussion. And I have also created a poll in the LinkedIn, so you can go to the poll and answer which most interests you. If you want to see any of these at the next session. If you're not joining via LinkedIn today, you can also just pop that into an email or into the chat in terms of which of those are of most interest to you. So mindfulness at work, mental health focus is particularly around mental health that I will talk about. The other one in terms of at work is leadership effectiveness. So how is it that mindfulness can play a big role in terms of leadership effectiveness? And then one of the things I do in terms of my own work and offerings is is mindfulness as a personal healing modality. And then mindfulness as a way to enhance your intuition, your sense of knowing, which we all have, and it's so powerful. And mindfulness can unlock that for us. So those are the ones that I thought we could look at covering one of those for next month. So if you can, let me know in the poll or the email or on the chat which is your preference there. Okay, and then I wanted to just quickly share with you what my what the work I do. And oopsie, so let's go back. What work I do, and you'll see this under the sort of private personal space and in the workplace well-being as well. So obviously I teach yoga. I love teaching yoga. I try and teach as much as I can. I teach different styles of yoga. I teach in studios, at schools, at gyms, outdoors on the grass. Anywhere I can teach yoga. I facilitate mindfulness education and practice similar to this. I do that also in corporates as well. Individual healing, as I've spoken about. I do focus a lot of my work on people that are struggling with depression, anxiety, and addiction recovery. It's a wonderful way of being able to take a journey of healing in a way that's safe and that is that there's no pressure and that you feel your mind and body and spirit just taking the steps forward every time you practice and do it without judgment. Individual transformation, I have a 10-week program called Journey to Joy. It's a mindfulness program. I also do pro bono counseling for an NGO and pro bono online mentoring. In the workplace, burnout prevention. So we can use mindfulness when we know people are struggling, and it's best to obviously catch it before burnout. And we use these practices to help introduce some sort of balance. We use these practices to help deal with the stress, and we also look for ways to let go of perhaps some emotion and pain that is contributing to the stress. If burnout has already happened, we use programs to get employees back to full recovery, and each one of those journeys is unique to the individuals. Mindfulness-based leadership development. I've developed a program where I work with leadership, and we cover all these aspects that I spoke to you about now, is understanding your traits, your thought patterns, your emotions, your behaviors, your personal biases, which all can contribute to your success as a leader. Team cohesion, I work with teams, type of mindfulness-based team building. We can use many different aspects of mindfulness and yoga and breath work to help bring the team closer together. Core to that is that building of empathy and compassion and being able to hear and feel what the other person is experiencing. And then lastly, what I also offer is independent mindfulness officer contract. So I can come into organization for a period and get mindfulness up and going and ensure that there are people within the business that then can get skilled up and run with it. So that's also an offering that I have. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you, and for those that are interested, you are able to contact me at any time to find out more about those offerings and about these future sessions and where and how I work and just mindfulness in general. I'm always very keen to share about mindfulness and encourage people to begin their journey. All right, so I want to close today with a reading from a book called Melody Beattie, Journey to the Heart. It's a wonderful book. I read a passage from here every time I teach a yoga session or facilitate a mindfulness session, because it's just very inspirational, and the words speak straight, well, certainly for me, straight into my heart. So maybe just close your eyes and listen to the words and see what they make you feel. So this passage is called Ease Up on Yourself. When you don't know what to do next, ease up on yourself. See how much more you accomplish, how much easier life is, how much more you enjoy life when you aren't focusing. So when you aren't forcing yourself. Forcing can turn into fear. Fear that the job won't get done. Fear that the natural way things could evolve won't be right. Fear that you're not good enough. Learn a different way. Learn the way of love. Relax, sit back, let go for now. Do something different. Breathe deeply. Burn a candle. Read a poem. Light some sage. If fear is present, send it away. See it, feel it, then allow it to leave. Return to the task in love when it feels natural, right, and on time. Participate naturally, joyfully in creation, whether that's the creation of a relationship, a dinner, a garden, or a meeting. Sometimes it's time to focus and to try hard. Sometimes it's time to ease up. See how much more you get done when you ease up. And see how much more playing, laughing, and enjoying gets done as well. Okay, everyone. So I invite you to turn your screens on before we part ways, just so that we can say hello, if you're comfortable with that. And so we can see each other and say hello and goodbye, and then also to say that I wish you guys a wonderful day, the rest of your day. And I don't know where you are, maybe in different time zones, but I wish you a beautiful remainder of your day. And I hope that I can see you all again next month, and look out for the details. Don't forget to pop your email into the chat, or email me if you want to be on that mailing distribution list. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that I'll see you again. Good. Have a lovely day, guys. Bye.
Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mark.